Okay, I think we can start the webinar. So, good morning, all. Today's webinar is all about the adaptations that the medtech industry has been making, the medical device and IoT solutions have been making with the AI, the increasing AI adaptations, and using ML models inside the medical devices. The presentation will talk through the selection of VNV protocols, selection of QMS, and the introduction of PCCP from FDA. For today's webinar, we have on the panel three people. We have our expert guest speaker, Todd Barker. Todd Barker is a quality medical device expert or a quality leader who has worked in various different journeys from organizations like Roche Diagnostics and Apple Health, and helped these industries and these industry giants set up their consumer products, their digital health products, their wearable products in the market with the regulatory practices and with the compliance helps and with the VNV protocols. He has also contributed immensely in the quality management system field, where he has helped organizations select the best solutions and make the most out of it. We also have our CEO at AIMDEC, Chirag Pausar, with us. Chirag also has immense experience in the medtech industry. He has been in the IT services for more than 15 years now. He has been working with many different novel and innovative medtech journeys. He has been a part of them. He has been helping these organizations right from ideation to the commercialization, helping them get the right team, the right technology, and the right people who can bring the best out of the concept and create the most from the initiatives. I am Devang Vasani. I work at AIMDEC as a marketing expert, and I specialize in medtech research. I help AIMDEC in recognizing the latest trends in the market, what's the marketing context, and what are the new topics that are brewing in the market. To start with this presentation, let me first introduce you to AIMDEC. So AIMDEC as an organization started in 2014. We started with a healthcare project where we were supposed to create an EHR system, comprehensive EHR system for the optometry industry. The solution was built for the optometrist and it has still been going strong in the market. Over the years, we have had many healthcare initiatives taken. We have helped many clients. But post-COVID, especially after COVID, we have seen an uprise in the remote patient monitoring technologies, medical devices, wearable devices, IoT solutions, or health medtech solutions that help in continuous health monitoring. So we have been associated and we have been creating expertise and resources around that practice. We have contributed a lot of journeys. So we started with the testing practice or the QA practice, where we started with small projects like BLE testing and then BLE connectivity and all those things. And then we moved to entire digital engineering and digital innovation space. So when it comes to medtech industry, our offerings are kind of comprehensive and end-to-end. We provide, as I've said earlier, that we start with wearable testing, or that has been the QA engineering, or QE engineering has been our specialty. Apart from that, we also have skilled developers who have been working on different digital healthcare product engineering projects. We have also helped SMD companies in their development journeys. We have brought test automation and RPA inside the medtech devices and their connected systems journeys. We help medtech companies who are in the growth stage with managed innovation. And over the years, we have helped many ideas grow into medtech unicorns and startup models who have been making breakthroughs in the industry. So whether we talk about testing or development, QA or anything, data and analytics, data has always been the center when it comes to medtech. And because of the AI, it has always been, now the data can be, very distinct, or the data can be enhanced in the ways that it was not possible before. So because of the implications of AI and ML, there have been a lot of changes in the medtech device market. And there have been many new devices who are coming up with ML models inside the medical devices itself. So I would like to welcome Todd to speak on this. What is your take on increasing use of AI? Is it really helping the market, or how is it driving the market?
Yeah, thank you. I think AI ML is definitely having a significant impact on manufacturers, and it's coming in several areas. But today, I'd like to just focus on two specific areas: internal business processes, and then the second is the regulated MLMD product development area. Excuse me. So in the area of business process development, AI serves to create summaries. And now typically, the AI training is done on a controlled and secured internal data source. So the training is very secure in that sense. And this brings almost immediate benefits to the area of QMS management. There's a requirement to have an ongoing regular management review. And through these summaries, then you can imagine that summaries feed into a management presentation, and this can happen with less effort, and it can happen with frequency that is not necessarily possible without these summaries. Now, in the area of product development, as a business process, I see it as being very helpful in the area of ideation and technology selection. So in the early product development business process, AI is performed on internal data sources that are maintained within a secure system environment. This encourages accelerated internal consensus, and this can only happen if the manufacturer has created a knowledge map of all the data sources. Internal data management is then available, and transparency between the internal consumers of this information is enhanced. Information sources from cross-functional groups are summarized. This accelerates the process of getting to final product claims and requirements that are coming from the patient or customer requirements are accelerated as a result of that. The labor-intensive design activities that go into product design are accelerated. Again, this is with training done on secure knowledge that is mapped throughout the organization. This can drive product requirements and design specifications that are coming forward with greater ease and efficiency. If there is experimentation setup that's required, this can be accelerated with predicate design of experiments planning that can be used to leverage what's going on into the future. And if algorithm development is also necessary, this will also be benefited by an AI. In the area of risk assessment and trace analysis, you can imagine how this is going to be greatly accelerated with an AI that has drawn from internal cataloged risks that can benefit new risk assessments. Since 2018, I believe, that's when I believe the first AI ML product was released or approved by FDA. It was a diabetic retinopathy scanner for adults having diabetes. Since then, dozens of products are now used using AI ML in the development of the products. They fall into categories like diagnostic tools, personalized medicine, wearable devices, drug discovery, clinical decision support software, and remote monitoring and telemedicine. I did a quick search in the FDA archives using keywords like computer-aided detection, diagnosis, statistical learning, deep learning, smart algorithms, machine learning. And it is certainly something that is having an impact on new products that are coming out.
Yeah, amazing. So, as you've said correctly, that AI have been a part of right from ideation to many different areas of the product journeys. And as you've said, that FDA have been creating documents around it, but what we have encountered in our research is that FDA has not only recognized these initiatives, they have also taken an initiative of their own, which they're calling as PCCP. So PCCP is something that has been introduced for, especially for medical devices who are using ML models in their devices. But to hear more about it, what is this PCCP, how it helps a medical device company, and how it is helping them make these pre-market submissions easier? I think I'd like to invite Todd to shed some light on it.
The PCCP stands for Predetermined Change Control Process. So the PCCP, from an FDA perspective, is a framework that ensures continuous validation. What's involved in it is a software description, an algorithm change protocol, and a plan for traceability. PCCP is required for manufacturers to present to FDA before the product can be approved. It's a pre-authorization requirement. It also captures a lot about the risk that's distributed within the product architecture. So it's very important to have very strong architecture and a risk assessment of each element and component of the architecture that may be affected by change. Now, as changes occur, then plans in advance of the change must be in the predetermined change control plan. The V&V that is associated with each change should be planned. And in order for this all to happen, then the organization that is using a PCCP really needs to embody what is previously referred to in the pre-cert program from FDA as the organizational excellence principles. And within the plan, then, using the concept of total product life cycle from FDA, then we have an organization that has an emphasis on excellence, patient-centered design, excellent product development practices, high standards for product performance, and very robust cybersecurity practices incorporated into the plan. So this planning then kicks in at the inception of a product as it's developed and is followed through until obsolescence of the product. So that is, in a nutshell, the PCCP.
Amazing. So it seems that PCCP will help ML devices with the pre-market submissions. It will help them it'll avoid a lot of resubmissions. That is what I feel from it. And what you have said in the summary, I see a lot of changes in terms of QMS and V&V, because you've said that it will be continuous validation. It will be a change in QMS. So will it change the entire selection of the V&V protocols in the QMS that the medical device companies have been doing so far, Todd?
The QMS is certainly affected by this this new category of product. So a product that is enabled by machine learning and has AI involved in producing the product capabilities in the market, in the use cases of a customer, and is certainly very new. And I would say the changes in the quality management system are across all of the procedures. Just a few of them I can think of right now are, well, the quality manual would have a very holistic say, description of every procedure that must interact within the quality management system. The product requirements are now very importantly, they will be associated with architectural elements of the product, design controls, the phase changes and milestones and process of executing design control will incorporate change management, and the aspects of design control having to do with scale up and transfer to manufacturing will be touched by the new requirements for AI and ML in medical devices. Risk management is coupled to almost everything in the quality management system. So as changes are occurring, a procedure has to capture exactly what is required. FDA is looking for patient-centered product design. This, and they also require monitoring effectiveness of the ML as it's in use. So the post-market surveillance aspect of a QMS is to be looked at carefully. Then finally, product obsolescence is included in the PCCP planning. So from the very beginning of the project, from inception until obsolescence, there is to be a change management plan for every stage along the total product life.
Okay, so do you have anything to add, or shall I continue? I'm sorry.
I think you also were thinking about specialized V&V protocols.
Yes.
So I think the PCCP since it's so much about architecture, they have to start thinking about the interrelationships between the architectural elements. So that the concept of interoperability is very, very, I would say, overarching, and it drives so much of the decision making in what is actually performed in terms of the V&V testing. The other thing that I think is so important is to have the right test teams in place. People with experience with interoperability will be very, very important for success in the testing programs for products. So the interfaces, the integration of components, compatibility as changes are made needs to be addressed. The communication protocols, which I think you'll talk about later, are so important in interoperability. Standards compliance, the amount of expertise that goes into the types of tests that will be necessary for and the ML product will necessarily be, the amount of expertise is going to be very important, and it needs to be from teams that have actually worked on these kinds of problems in the past. So that'd be my recommendation.
Amazing. So as you rightly said that when you are planning with PCCP, or if you are an ML medical device who wants to go into the market and wants to opt for PCCP, they have to plan for the entire product cycle, their entire cycle, right from ideation to obsolescence. So in our recent conversations that we have had with the medtech companies, we have seen, so we have an innovation center here at AIMDEC, and we kind of come up with new use cases or solutions that could help medtech companies, grow. So what has been an urge of or a product that has been making rounds in the market right now from us is the interoperability architecture that we have built. It is powered by ML AI ML models. It helps in processing the data, but we have been seeing that it has even if the company is in its growth stage, they have been interested in this, and they wanted to talk more about it when they grow, and they would definitely want that this architecture to be the part of it. So while we understand what this architecture is, I'd like to invite Chirag first to shed some light as to how this architecture came to our industry. I mean, came into our company. How this idea came to life. Over to you, Chirag.
Thanks, Devang, and thanks, Todd, for the insights. I think this conversation is going in really going in a very interesting direction. We are touching upon a lot of interesting things in just one go. I know each topic has deserves at least an hour of discussion, but I think in the interest of we're trying to cover it as much as we can. So, well, my thoughts with respect to interoperabilities, working with many medtech companies, a lot of companies who are, aspire, right, to be, well-known medtech organization who would be, adding a lot of value through medical grade data, right, and would be able to offer data as a service. I think that's where this architecture really makes sense, and it actually is a need of an hour, right? So a lot of medtech companies are in race for the FDA approval. That's their first thing that they want to do, and once they reach there, the next thing that they want to do is obviously to see how quickly they can make the best use of the medical grade data that they're collecting from multiple sources, and through the medical devices or wearable devices, specifically. And it's very important to understand that how you process, not only collect the data, you probably may be doing it more accurately, having the FDA approval, but the story actually starts from there, right? When you go and hit the market, it's important how you not only collect the data, but how you process it, and how you intelligently process it and then deliver to the digital health stakeholders, right? Be it CROs, payers, patients, and so on and so forth. And I think that's where this architecture, makes a lot of sense. I mean, I'm saying architecture because it's a plumbing that needs to be done to get these things done. And this use case is very specific to a lot of medtech companies who aspire to offer intelligent data, which could be very useful to all the stakeholders, right? So it's not only serving the purpose as an organization, but also I would say it is also bringing the entire health ecosystem together, or kind of taking it to the next level of maturity, where right now we are seeing that the data is in multiples, you know s- the patient data is continuously being stored, but it's in multiple, it's in fragmented manner, and there is a lot of governance, and a lot of maturity is required to really make the most use of it, and rather, I would say, make the treatment more affordable, right? I think that's where the industry is going, and I think this sort of innovation would really help us to go in that direction and achieve some of the um, goals that we have set, right? Apart from the monetization of the data, but I think if you think in a broader perspective, it's a lot of positive contribution to the community as well, where you're able to bring in more comprehensive solution, where you're getting access to the trusted data, where you can do more prescriptive and predictive um, uh, you know um, um, treatments.
Okay. So yeah, as Chirag said, the architecture talks around data, and it starts with the companies who are aspiring to be more than just a medical device company. They want to become a dash or a clinical intelligence company. So this challenge came to us when we were trying to understand the medtech industry, where why certain devices would work wonders but still face some counterattacks or drawbacks or withdrawals from the consumers and the physicians. So the majority of the times we have seen that data is the value that the medical grade data that they are generating, these devices are generating, is what sets them apart, and they want to make most out of it. So what we have seen is majority of the medical device companies who are currently just dealing in devices and generated data have a companion app, aspire to be a data as a service company or a cloud intelligence platform who could make optimum use of this device data, of this medical grade data, and move into the market with the ecosystem. So this architecture is based on that. We have created an architecture which is based, which will be cloud supported. It will be hosted on AWS or Azure. And when we talk about this architecture's, let's just say flow. So it starts with streaming your IoT devices data or your wearable devices or medical devices data. We start with the streaming of the data, we collect that data, and we manage the data in our architecture. We also store it in a HIPAA compliance manner. And once we have the data stored on our architecture, we'll process it in HL7 fire compliant manner. So what will happen is once we process that data, it will be made useful to the users who are going to access that data or use that data. And it will be easier for them to consume that data without any human intervention. So what we have created is, for example, if medical device data that is raw, or let's just say generated for a specific user, or a data is generated only for the companion apps. So you have that raw chunk of data that is only made for patients, but now you want to stream that data to physicians, to CROs, to clinical trials. How do you do that? Without any customization, in the most seamless way possible, and without without breaking that data anywhere. So this is where this architecture comes in. We have created this pipeline or a plumbing in the AWS architecture where we input the data, we manage that data here with the S3 buckets and Lambda sources to manage, where we also provide users with notifications. The relevant users will get the notifications. And for example, so as Chirag has mentioned, that it is not about monetizing, but it is also about making the most and cutting the cost. So here we've also made cost considerations for the organizations. For example, if you see here, the architecture says that there are 3 buckets. One starts from 0 to 90 days, second is from 90 to 180 days, and third is 180 days plus. So the first bucket is where the most recent data stays. But the data that is generated in the last 90 days stays in the first bucket. After that, it moves to the second bucket, where the recall time will be more than the first bucket. For example, if the first one is near time, the second will be, if the first one is near real time, the second one will be near time. It will take around 20 minutes to recall the data. And the third set is where you have an old set of data which you don't need often, but you want to store that data for later access, or if you have some compliance issues, if you want to pull that up, so you can do that. It is called a glacier data, and that is where the oldest data is stored. So what happens is the cost for the first bucket is the most, and the cost for the last bucket is the least. So that is where the cost considerations are done. Moving on, the data processing part. We have used some of the IoT Sage and as well as meaningful use from AWS into this architecture to make or segregate the data or the raw data in a way that it can be used by certain users. Apart from that, we have also employed our in-house proprietary AI ML models, which will help distribute the data and segregate the data in a way that it can be distributed to 6 different standard formats or API formats, which can be consumed by open systems or any of the HL7 compliant system, which are used by CROs, by pharma companies, by doctors, by payers, patients, or any of the open EHR or any of the EMR systems. So to put it in a perspective, if you have a medical device that is generating a data, and it is only made for the companion app that you've made, but now you want to move it to cloud and you want to send that data to physicians or the clinical trial companies who have requested your device for the drug testing that they are bringing to the market. So whether it is about the patients who will be seeing the data, whether it is the clinical trial auditor or the officer who are accessing the data, or the physicians who are comparing the patient data before they took the drug, the vitals before they took the drug and after the drug. So now all the data, while the streaming of the data is raw and it is very monolithic, but in the end, the outcome, if you see, each user will only get data that is relevant to them. The clinical trial officer will only see redacted data with no personal patient information. They'll only see segmented data, while the physicians might see data with all the patient's name and all the details that they want to see, the prior vitals and the post vitals and comments and updates from the systems that they have generated, and patients will only see their data. So that is how we have made this architecture. So the point of all this long conversation and bringing all this together was that we are also, since medical device companies have been asking for this, we have also considered that this might also affect the uh, PCCP requirements or the VNV requirements that the company is coming up at the early pre-submission stage. So, Todd, can you share some changes in QMS and VNV for the companies who would like to employ this architecture when it comes to the PCCP submission?
Yeah, it's very clear that with the preparation in a strong architectural, say, planning sense, that we are ready now to take on these types of products where we can assign changes to different components of the architecture. Then we are then able to make plans on what types of tests are appropriate. So depending on what kinds of change may be required, then you would be looking at specific V&V tests to be executed. So in the case of verification, we're looking at a change that doesn't impact the intended use of the product. And in the case of validation, if we have some impact to the intended use, or we have some kind of harm that may be a potential risk, then we would do additional validation on top of verification. So where you have interfaces between components, interface testing, at the end you would do some kind of integration test that would bring all of the components together, and then compatibility from version to version is certainly something to plan for. The communication protocols that you mentioned, if there's any kind of change in the communication protocol or any kind of risk that's associated with that, any change having to do with communication, then verification and validation kicks in to address those changes. Data format, it could be that sensors provide different data, so those hardware related changes would be verified and then the associated validation if necessary. The entire end-to-end stack of everything that happens needs to be tested, and on. We're going through all of these verification and validation plans that need to be part of PCCP. So where a plan change is anticipated, then a change control planning appears in the PCCP. So that's the nature of what PCCP offers to the organization to ensure that the product remains in a continuously validated state. There's also the concept of having internal validation, so that if that were possible, and through planning and design, the validation of changes that may occur internal to the architecture may be validated in real time. So that is a possibility as well. Overall, all of these things, when described in a PCCP, provide transparency, and that is one of the most important things that FDA is stating in their PCCP guidances.
Okay, thank you, Todd. I think this is very useful. I'll just touch, in the same context, I'll just touch upon a couple of things very quickly. That we have seen a lot of a lot of companies. Um, quality engineering, is much a broader term. However, within medtech, um, testing the variables and the biosensors, and the accuracy when it comes to the connectivity of the data through BLE becomes very crucial, right? Because without that, you won't be able to move to the next step. So, um, having said that, we definitely have a very dedicated focus on these areas, right? Be it variable or biosensor testing. So we do a lot of manual and automated testing, very specific to that, right? Right from firmware to middleware, to sensors, and the companion app, and the cloud, right? So what we have been able to do is to really bring efficiency into the overall process. We have identified common scenarios, throughout hardware to cloud, which could be automated. Obviously, these scenarios are, would be much lesser at a hardware and sensor level. However, as you move further to firmware software, you would be able to add more scenarios to automate, but you would always be able to identify certain scenarios which could be common across, and that gives you more comprehensive, automation, um, throughout, the product, right? So that's one thing. And the other area, from the efficiency and focus perspective, is the verification and validation. So this, is looks like a small part of it. However, this is very important, especially when you're early stages, right? So, um, really understanding the requirements from the product teams, and then, creating a document control system, uh, you know, identifying or defining the relevant VME protocols, and then, based on those protocols, you define all the possible test scenarios and understand the scope of automation. So, the first phase is to really understand and define those protocols, and what out of those protocols, when you create those scenarios, what can be automated, right? So, those could be like multiple scenarios, and you don't want to manually test them, right, on ongoing basis. So it's very important that, wherever possible, you automate it, right? So once you identify those, you kind of look at, um, the automation using different tools and technologies, and put the frameworks together to kind of execute it. Similarly, conducting device, firmware, mobile, web, and cloud tests based on VN protocols, so covering the entire spectrum. And then how do you really, because that's where the automation or the ROI on the automation would really make sense, is you're now replicating tests on multiple channels, right? And then, obviously, analyzing functional deviations based on the submitted requirements. So when you, kind of map it with your document control system and the requirements that you have documented, and try to analyze, what are the deviations, and then conduct failure analysis, right? So that you can give a robust feedback to the development teams to make sure that, they not only fix those, but at the same time, they learn the process. And, as they move further in the development, they are delivering more quality code, right? And eventually helps you to reduce the time to market. And then, the whole process would eventually contribute in, the collaborating with the regulatory teams for FDA filing, and for 510K filing, right? So those things. And the last thing, as we've been seeing from FDA, now they are saying that, cybersecurity, is something which has become a mandate now, right? And they keep on improving, or they keep on tightening the screws, rather, I would say, when it comes to, getting the FDA approvals, or for the submissions, you have to keep those things in consideration. So, the last mile, if you want to say, cybersecurity is also something that we cover as part of our offering, not only, at an application layer, but also at the device layer.
Thank you so much, Chirag, for that. So the point is that we have been updating ourselves with the market. We have been keeping tabs on the latest developments. And we have been updating our practices, whether it is QA engineering or QA practice or V&V practices. So all the information that you have seen so far, I would just like to ask you this one last question, Todd. What is your advice to our QA engineers and all the medical device companies who are looking for VNV services for QMS or for PCCP or our architecture? What is your advice for all of us?
First of all, I would say recognize the great experience that you've garnered over years, and continue to build on technical excellence in those areas where you've been working. It's going in the right direction. The second thing I think is to be very busy about the area of DevOps, where DevOps is kind of spawning many sub-disciplines at the moment, and where possible, then continue to grow in that direction. Where, for example, DevSecOps, with security, data ops, managing the training data for an ML, and the cross-validation data, independence from the training data, those sorts of things. And the infrastructure, I think, is built out very well. Continue in that direction. That's wonderful. Organizational excellence, meaning working toward patient-centered design, excellent product development practices, the standards for high standards for product performance. These are all happening. Just continue to go in that direction. And cybersecurity, of course, that will continue to be an increasing level of effort on everyone's part. So the PCCP allows us a framework to bring ML into a medical device, and I think it's very risk-based, and it allows us to plan for verification and validation for anticipated changes, so we can keep the medical device in a validated state when changes are happening. So this will extend the product life, and we'll plan for the entire product life through the total product life cycle concept. So those are my thoughts at this point.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So before we take leave, before we let it go, I'd like to open the house for some questions if they have. So thank you, attendees, for staying this far. If you have any questions regarding AIMDEC, regarding PCCP, if you want to ask Todd anything, if you want to ask Chirag anything, I will open the house for a few minutes before you have. And to ask your questions, you can just move to the QMS section below, where it's a question mark icon below. You can just type your question and we'll take it up from there. So while in webinars, we see that this part is the most silent part of the webinar, where we just stand still and wait for the questions. But so sometimes people take time to process their thoughts, and we are completely okay with that. We'll be sharing this recording with you all. And if you have any such questions, you can just drop us. We'll get the answers from Todd if you want to. We'll get the answers from Chirag as well. But yeah, thank you all of you for joining us today. Thank you, Todd, for giving us your valuable time. Thank you, Chirag, for joining us today in your busy schedule. Thank you, every attendee who attended this call, gave us their time. And if you have any questions, we are open for the answers. Thank you so much.